Hear ye, hear ye. The Clash Royale League begins now in North America. Our first match features last place 100 Thieves looking to steal an upset from the red-hot second-ranked Immortals. Can Royal keep the bandits out of his goblin hut and get back to #1? Answers now!
100 Thieves versus Immortals. PT-105 in the lineup did not play the last time these squads met. Thirsty for blood against a squad that swept them last time. But Amanda has a lot to say about that. Immortals, crap, part of that sweep. Giving a kiss to the camera, and I think we'll see that fantastic haircut. There you go, 700 likes. He wants one more for today's win. Welcome to Clash Royale League. I'm Rich Slayton. Joining me is Andrew Guy, and we have made it the last day of Super Week, and the standings have gone crazy. Immortals to #1, back to #2, and here looking for #1 again.
Yeah, they were in that #1 spot for just a moment before Cloud9 took it from out underneath them, and 100 Thieves in a very interesting position. If they lose today, they have to win out in order to even hope to make playoffs.
Immortals shooting for that #1 spot in those playoffs. And that's a big one because, of course, you get a first and second round bye and the quickest route to our World Finals.
Yes, in the World Finals, we are excited to announce that next week we'll be telling you when and where it is and how you can be there.
Later today, 2 more teams looking for a spot, maybe that 3 or 4 spot in the playoffs. It's Tribe versus Counter Logic Gaming, but right now, it's a squad making their run for #1 in Immortals against a team looking for life in 100 Thieves.
Yes, 100 Thieves, focusing on what's important. We got Frost, Eddie, PT-105, and making his resurgence here in CRL, Pure Zun. And their opponents, with the wonderful haircuts, we've got Immortals, oh yeah, crap, the God RF, and of course their 1v1 specialist in Royal.
This last meeting was a sweep started off by crap and the God RF in 2v2. Crap supremely confident with the OP haircut and the OP play, and he's standing with our OP sideline reporter, Christy St. John.
Thanks, guys. So, crap, tell me, how does it feel to go to first place and then to second place, all without playing a match?
You know, it was interesting. We had seen the standings so that we knew that it was going to happen. But seeing our team at #1 spot, it felt really good, and we're looking to take that back.
I have to admit, it seems like you guys are a different team than started this league. So, what was the problem in your first week?
I mean, honestly, we just weren't prepared. That's what it all comes down to. Not enough confidence, not enough preparation. We finally feel really good about everything about our team, and so, we're hoping that we can continue this run.
Gotcha, feeling good and looking pretty good, I must say. Nice haircut, OP haircut, definitely well deserved. Thanks so much for talking to me. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Christy. Both these teams, of course, are leaders who are focused, talk about preparation. On one side, you have Woody, the other side, trainer Luis. Let's hear what they have to say to get ready inside the war rooms.
Friends, thieves, teammates, lend me your ears. We're here right now to try to prove to everyone that we can get wins. It's not about the result. It's about the effort that you put into getting the result that you want. And I think that you guys know that. Let's put our hands in. 3, 2, 1. 100!
How are you feeling about your opponents?
I think we can beat them.
Pretty confident. Are you relaxed?
Yeah.
That's pretty much it, right?
Everything is better in pairs, except kings. If you hear about another king, please tell me immediately so I can destroy him. What was I talking about again? Oh yes, pairs. 2v2 pairs. Crap and the God RF. Eddie and PT-105. 2v2 time in the arena.
Set #1 about to get underway, and no surprises here for Immortals. 100 Thieves throwing a different look.
Yeah, I'm really surprised here. We're seeing PT-105 work his way back into the lineup for 100 Thieves. Him and Eddie are actually going to take on the 2v2 set today, so definitely changing things up. And for Immortals, they're sticking with what they know and what works best, the God RF and crap. Now remember, these guys have beaten some of the best in the league in 2v2.
The ban cards for all potential 3 games here in 2v2. Once again, Tornado and Fireball.
Tornado and Fireball, Rich. It's a good way to finish out the week here in Super Week. And really what it's going to come down to, obviously, it's not going to be the bans. Those are so common, so typical. You can't really strategize directly against them in 2v2. So it's going to be about how these two teams work together. And PT105 stepping in at the end of Super Week is interesting.
I'm expecting some very creative deck constructions here from Eddie and PT105. At this point, swing for the fences.
Let's go. Let's go.
Immortals, Aw Crap, the God RF at the top of your screen. 100 Thieves, PT105, and Eddie at the bottom. And looks like we might see some slightly different deck construction here from the 100 Thieves squad.
Yeah, and if we're focusing on 100 Thieves in their deck, Rich, there's also a card that's been discussed a lot lately on Twitter, especially by someone named Rumham.
Yeah, a big change in the mechanics. And there we go. We're seeing it drop right now. I believe, there we go, right at the river, the Royal Giant. So, Andrew, walk us through some of these mechanic shifts.
I mean, really what it's about is making it so that the Royal Giant can't hit you from as far away so that your buildings your Princess Tower and your defense is a little bit more effective. However, they are going to increase its damage output. So for someone like me who loves running Mortar, I'm a little wary of buffing the Royal Giant, but I definitely understand and appreciate the mechanics changes.
Yeah, it does make Royal Giant a little different as far as getting to the Princess Tower between being able to pick it up with buildings like the Inferno Tower more easily. But if you are a Siege player, Mortar or Expo, a 60% increase in hit points for a card that drops right at the river, I think that's going to be a very bad meta for you in this next couple of weeks.
You guys can't see it, but I'm shaking my head and I've got a frown on my face.
This is why I switched off of Expo halfway through this season.
So far, though, both these team strategies working out well. You see a much more traditional deck here that we've seen from Immortals. And with 100 Thieves, there are reminiscent parts of it. Seeing the Royal Giant, seeing the P.E.K.K.A. and the cannon in there, I really don't like the cannon much, Rich, I'll be honest.
I was about to ask you about that. We've seen Tombstone be the primary 3-cost building, especially for distracting Royal Hogs. What is it about the cannon that makes it a less popular choice than the Tombstone?
I mean, I think it's because it offers no offensive utility, and once it's dead, it's dead. One of the great things about the Tombstone is it's spawning these skeletons that really disrupt the flow of movement of so many big, tanky, or high DPS troops. And then when it dies, it also creates more skeletons to distract those single targeting units and slow them down. The cannon, once it's gone, and it doesn't provide much force at all. And they cost the same.
So trying to get Miner on tower gets picked up on the left-hand side. Immortals, though, with a lead on these left-hand towers, but have to deal with this very frustrating Royal Giant.
Yeah, and that very nice high cannon with the Ice Spirit to pick it up, and you hear the bench of 100 Thieves applauding that defensive play.
Immortals holding on pretty well now with a Royal Hog push of their own, taking care of that cannon very quickly.
And that Miner coming on top of that Dark Goblin is going to mean tower for Immortals.
And that is going to be it on this side. 100 Thieves needs to mount something very quick, but with the seconds ticking away, not going to be enough time. Very good defense. And despite us kind of poo-pooing the cannon, here's an interesting question here, Andrew. Is the cannon a better response to Royal Giant than the Tombstone specifically?
You know, that's an interesting question, Rich, because I'm pretty sure the cannon still can't reach the Royal Giant, but I'm not sure, and I'll probably get reamed for it online because I never play cannon. I don't play Royal Giant anymore. But I do think it's obviously, I mean, you got defensive capabilities, whereas the Tombstone just kind of sits there and soaks up shots. So innately, you would say yes. And here you see Immortals, even though their tower is pretty low on top, it did feel like they had a great amount of control during that game, and I think that had a lot to do with their deck composition.
So very nice work here from Immortals to take game number 1. You know, I guess dropping that cannon late like they did might be a good way to deal with that Royal Giant. Yeah. And now with that reduction in range from 6.5 to 5, a big reduction in range, the cannon might be even better in that context.
Yeah, them dropping it high once the Royal Giant is in range of the Princess Tower, doing double damage. A really great use of the cannon in that moment by Immortals.
I got pretty shaky. Let's do this. That's okay. Yeah.
Game number 2 underway, the lava flowing all around the arena. And it looks like Immortals going with the same idea here, 100 Thieves switching things up potentially. I'm having trouble seeing exactly what their game plan is right now. And there we go, it is gold.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks like it could be that double golem deck.
Log cleaning up those skeletons, and nice value getting the Dark Goblin as well, so some damage on the left-hand side for Immortals early on. Golem, though, making its way across the river, and a very beautifully placed lightning to clean up a lot of that plus a support, but oh no, wow, the Royal Ghost getting on target.
Yeah, really strong start for 100 Thieves here, and Immortals now having to fire back.
So Prince almost gets to tower, picked up nice by the Lumberjack, and as we see, talking about those building plays again, it's 100 Thieves switching to the Tombstone in this context, but we've already seen the cannon again from Immortals.
Yeah, and you'd almost wonder if 100 Thieves wishes they had the Furnace. We've seen how effective the Furnace can be against these Royal Hog pushes, although we haven't seen the Furnace itself pop up much in 2v2.
So the cannon, a pretty standard part of 2.6 Hog Rider.
Yeah, and with... So right now it feels like, Immortals are stuck playing a lot of defense. They've got a decent amount of tower damage on the right side of, 100 Thieves is playing defense. They've got a decent side on Immortals tower. With that double Golem and Immortals being their best response to the Golem being the Inferno Dragon, 100 Thieves has a Lightning in hand, which is a really great way to get that Inferno Dragon out of play. So I actually feel right now 100 Thieves has a matchup advantage.
So far playing it pretty well, out to an early lead, and they've been dealing really exceptionally with that Prince every single time.
Hogs coming back in with the Baby Dragon with the Log, and that's really nice splash damage there to clean up those Royal Hogs pretty efficiently, although definitely getting some good damage in. And that, again, the Magic Archer is so... I think it's the most effective card in CRL this week. In Super Week, I think I've seen the Magic Archer do more things for its owner than any other card.
Well, that's the David Blaine of cards here, because using that magic to make HP disappear so quickly.
And it's such a difficult card to use. It really is such a high skill cap card. You find yourself watching these matches and you're like, oh yeah, I could do that. But then when you're actually in game, just one tile difference changes its effectiveness by 100%.
Miner gets to the back, trying to put some damage here in the last second.
And with the Lightning in the hand of 100 Thieves, it does really look like they might take this set. The 42 coming. Wow,
oh my gosh!
Oh my gosh! And Immortals keeping the pressure up. And you look at, oh crap, he can't believe what just happened.
Yeah, taking a deep breath here. That was all stress in those moments. So close to losing that game. You see your tower in that range, you're like, oh my gosh, what can I do to get this thing done in time? And there you go. Let's take a look at this replay.
Yeah, and you see this big downhill train push coming in. The Magic Archer in the back shooting through the Baby Dragon, and so much damage coming in. That one push changed everything in this match, as well as this. Again, great Magic Archer placement by Immortals, and that is all they needed. That is all she wrote. 2 Magic Archers to change the momentum of this game like that.
You know, the Magic Archer, I called it the David Blaine. You could say with the long hair, the Chris Angel, even better with the ponytail, the Penn Jillette, making HP disappear and taking games away in fantastic fashion. So there you go, a nice early set win here for Immortals, one step closer to trying to secure that #1 spot. But now we have coming up, it's the 1v1 set. Immortals has their Specialist Royal up against someone we've seen many times for 100 Thieves.
Go ahead, take out your binoculars and look off in the distance, across the river and past the bridge. Do you see him over there, looking back at you, Frost? That's Royal. Royal, that's Frost. Your enemies, okay? Now, attack!
Vicious attack there, both men grabbing each other's hand and squeezing it. I am personally shy. Wait, what's happening on the bench over here of 100 Thieves? The gold hat coming off, and wow, Andrew, looks like they are taking their jerseys and all stacking them on their 1v1 player.
I mean, if the pressure wasn't high enough for 100 Thieves and Frost as it was with the position they were in, this is definitely going to add to it. But you know what? Maybe it's strategy, Rich, because if there's one thing we've learned about 100 Thieves Frost is that he gets nervous and his fingers go numb, and then he goes into this serene mode of gameplay where he just dominates his opponents.
Well, maybe the heat here designed to make extra blood flow so his hands don't go numb this time. And here we go. Frost ready to literally carry his team on his back here in 1v1 up against the Romanian Royal.
Yeah, and Royal is just like ready to get down to business. So here we go, guys. Frost for 100 Thieves coming out. He's 2-2 in 1v1 sets with an overall game record of 5-5. And Royal, we've said it before, and I'm going to say it again, 6-2 in 1v1 sets. He is a specialist in this league, 13-7 overall in game wins.
Let's take a look at our ban cards here for this 1v1 set. And right now we have P.E.K.K.A. and Miner, so 2 standard ban cards for late in the season, but not 2 we've seen together very often.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we just saw the Miner yesterday, I believe, and it's really only popped up this week in the Royale Rumble. And, you know, it works so well in so many different archetypes. It takes a lot of the win conditions of those archetypes out of the game.
So here we go, 1v1. Royal showing up one more time. Frost, though, getting those fingers loose and ready for action. Immortals Royal, top of your screen. 100 Thieves Frost at the bottom. And Royal showing the peace sign from the princess, also maybe showing the hands working so well.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one, Rich. We got a lot riding on this for both teams. And as I said before, Frost thrives on this moment, on moments like these.
So Frost with a log and a musketeer early, and the fireball used on the musketeer.
And you think you got to see 2 point. Oh, no, never mind. We got a, it's probably that musketeer graveyard deck. What else is in that deck, Rich? Is there a knight in there?
I have seen this version with a knight. Very, very interesting to see the musketeer. I am currently playing a bowler musketeer variation of this graveyard deck on ladder.
And now we got the Inferno Tower coming in for Frost, so definitely an interesting deck makeup here.
And we are seeing, and here we go, Royal running that bowler Royal Giant combination, and that's going to be a big question as we move forward into the next update, is will that update and change to the Royal Giant make this stronger or weaker?
I mean, I think it'll make it a lot stronger, Rich, because, you know, the thing about the Royal Giant, it's got to get closer now, but if you have the bowler right behind it, dealing with all those troops coming in to pick it up, it could be really, really a big threat.
So the deck that Royal turned into a Grand Challenge Commoner a little while ago, after he ran it, we saw it over and over again, bringing it back here. So can he show off why this deck is so powerful? Will we see it pop up all over again this weekend?
Yeah, it's a really clunky looking deck on paper, but it has wonderful synergy, and it really is, again, it's all about the bowler backing up that Royal Giant and using your Inferno Dragon to take care of your opponent's big tanky units.
Well, that P.E.K.K.A. ban makes a lot more sense here now, because with 5 Elixir for the bowler and 6 for the Royal Giant, a P.E.K.K.A. would be devastating to meet at the river.
Absolutely. You drop the P.E.K.K.A. right on top of both those units at the river. It will not get knocked back by that bowler's boulder, and it will deal with that Royal Giant about 3 quick swings. And a little high on the Inferno Tower, not able to get the Princess locking on the Royal Giant as well.
So we are about 23 seconds into double Elixir time. It is Royal with a slight advantage so far. You have to imagine, though, that the rate of graveyards will pick up here as we move forward.
Yeah, and it is a pretty frustrating position for Frost to be in, having to deal with these big, tanky units like the Bowler and the Royal Giant. It makes him not be able to focus much on offense.
And those guards, a fantastic response, especially not seeing poison so far, so making it very difficult for a graveyard player.
And actually, Royal kind of shot himself in the foot there. He did a great job with the Inferno Tower, getting it down in time to catch the Royal Giant, but then he logged the Royal Giant, knocked it out of range so that the Giant could pick off the Inferno Tower without being zapped by its laser.
We are in sudden death overtime, and Frost here trying his best to find a way to get that graveyard down, has had some struggles so far, but doing a good job of not letting the Royal Giant do too much.
Yeah, and the other thing to say about, even though I was slightly criticizing Frost's placement, not getting the Princess Tower on the Royal Giant, you 10 times out of 10 would rather drop the Inferno Tower early, take care of the Royal Giant, than let it lock onto your tower and miss it with a late drop.
So now we're seeing the Poison Frost getting an opening to play the 2 cards together, but with that log on top, not going to get a ton of value, although there's a few hundred hit points off on the left-hand side, so Frost battling back.
And a really nice kite here from the Ice Golem. Great positive elixir trade. I don't know if you guys saw my co-caster's shirt. We'll be cutting that later.
Fantastic value, something we love here at CRL. And now we're going opposite lane with the Graveyard. The guards meeting one more time.
Yeah, and the early log coming in, the guards demanding the early log because of their shields, although not usually what you want to do when defending against a Graveyard. However, Royal defending that very, very nicely.
So both players going very tight on their defense. And here we go, that Inferno Tower picking up the Royal Giant very nicely, taking it all the way down.
Yes, and that's exactly how he wants to do it every single time. Getting it that close, so even with the log, if he needed to use it, would still be within Inferno Tower range. Really great alteration to his defense throughout this game is Frost for 100 Thieves.
So Andrew, here's a frustrating part or a challenging part about the deck that Frost is playing in this situation, because I've been playing Musketeer and Graveyard together often lately. And one of the moves that you like to pull when you have an opportunity for it is to put the Graveyard down first. And so it's actually the Skeleton semi-tanking for the Musketeer who sneaks in, but he has to save that Musketeer to deal with this Inferno Dragon.
Yeah, there's so much of an offensive threat and presence here that he really has to allocate most of his elixir to playing defense, as I said earlier on. And now with 45 seconds left, if I'm Frost, I think I kind of just take the draw. I mean, it's not necessary that Royal has the matchup entirely, but it's just you don't really want to mess with it. Royal Giants can do so much damage so quickly, and Royal having great responses to his Graveyard, it seems like breaking through isn't going to happen.
So we'll see what kind of decisions Frost makes here. Has to deal with this Giant on the left-hand side.
And another nice Inferno Tower, and yeah, Royal recognizing, so does Frost. This is going to be a draw in game number 1. These guys are going to go back to their deck pools and figure out what they want to come out with next. However, this was basically a neck-and-neck match the entire time, Rich.
Nobody making any very serious mistakes. You had the one very close there on the right-hand side there. Frost almost making us eat our words, saying it was over. Again, very tight play. You had that one minor misplay with the Inferno Tower and the log pushing the Royal Giant out of range, but really both these guys recognizing that they needed to play careful and not make any mistakes more than anything else.
Yes, and I don't know if Frost planned on Royal playing that Royal Giant deck, but that Inferno Tower was really his saving grace throughout this entire match. If it was any other building, he would have been in real big trouble in this situation.
So nice deck building by the Frosty one, keeping himself in this, and now the first game a draw, so now we have 2 more. Remember, you have to win 2 games to win the set. So if they split, we go to a 4th. If there's another draw, actually you have to double check if the second game's a draw. The third one, I believe, would be a tiebreaker.
Yeah, and then these guys obviously not wanting to be in that position, especially 100 Thieves. They need to take it and strike right now.
Game number 2 underway. First game a draw. If we get a second draw, Andrew, we'll get into the complicated narrative of what happens with those draw rules. Right now, though, if one of these 2 players can win 2 in a row, they will take the set.
Yep, and you got to imagine both these guys want to do that for their team, especially Frost wearing all of their jerseys.
So we have Ice Golem and Mega Minion and Log coming out for Royal. Frost showing shades of potentially the new OP Sam deck.
Archers coming in. We have seen small variations in that deck.
So Andrew, this reads Golem from Royal?
It does, but we've been wrong many times before, my friend.
We have seen a similar version with the Graveyard, although the Prince not the ideal combination because it does not force its way across the river.
Yes.
Now, if this is a Golem deck and we're expecting that Frost has P.E.K.K.A, P.E.K.K.A's banned, so that's a very interesting wrinkle for this deck as well.
Yeah, you gotta wonder what Frost's plan is or his defensive option is to that powerful tank card that you would imagine your opponent would probably have in this situation. Maybe he's got an Inferno Dragon, but he definitely needs a very high DPS card to be showing soon.
So P.E.K.K.A and Miner the ban cards here, and it is Frost taking the first big chunk out of that left-hand tower. So both players playing fairly slow and defensive. you got to think Frost might want to turn things up a bit early here if he does put his opponent on gold.
Yeah, I mean, the one nice thing that Frost does have is that ability to push both lanes with the Royal Hogs. So that is something that if he is playing against Golem, that does excel, because Golems like to, like I said before, focus on one lane at a time. However, yeah, it's a lot easier for a Golem push to get a lot going on behind it when you get an Elixir twice as fast.
And it is that graveyard.
It is the graveyard, yeah. We've seen it come in a couple times. There was that old variation with the cannon cart, and then when that buff happened, or nerf happened, I should say, and the buff to the Prince, we saw the Prince coming in almost every deck that the cannon cart used to be in.
So a fascinating deck construction here, Andrew. What we were talking about before is that there's usually something designed to cover for that graveyard skeleton, whether it's going to be a poison taking troops out or a tanky troop. And the Prince being an odd option because, unlike other cards, it gets caught at the river often.
Right, but it does have so much health that you can kind of rely on it to at least maybe, hopefully, cross the river and soak up some of your opponent's defensive troops. However, Frost is doing a very good job at keeping Royal from doing that.
Yeah, it's that dual lane pressure of Frost. Both towers under significant duress. Lots of defense here, lots of elixir for defense here from Royal, but those Hogs will get some shots on the right-hand side.
Yeah, and just a really nice slipped-in Magic Archer for one quick shot on that left tower. That is, again, pro plays left and right.
And Royal cannot be happy to see that poison in defense on that graveyard push.
Yeah, Frost having all the answers to Royal's win condition right now, but Royal has a lot coming down the lane here. And that Tombstone doing just enough.
The Prince gets a swing, but the Tombstone does slide its way in. A second Prince coming, Rascals in response.
I was going to say, he really needs to get to those Rascals as soon as possible, but those Rascals getting, the Rascal Girl is getting picked up quick, and that Prince making quick work of the Rascal Boy. This is a big onslaught coming in for Royal, and Frost is on his heels.
Last time against 100 Thieves, Royal took the sweep over Eddie. With the draw, no sweep possible here, but still looking to get some work done on the right-hand side. Although his tower down to 691, he does have to be careful and not overcommit.
Yeah, this is a very, very close match, and right now, it is anybody's game.
So as this Prince charges, gets across the river, now you think it might be time for the graveyard push to come in, but the Bat's eating it up very quickly.
Yeah, and that was a really, really nice trade for Frost. Now really, really trying to close this one out. But Royal playing excellent defense on every single one of these pushes, mitigating almost all the damage.
But now under 400 within 2 poison ranges, so Royal does have a ticking clock on his life in this game.
I mean, he needs 57 more damage on that tower in order to log and poison him out. But when you're playing against Graveyard, we've seen many, many times that the person who's in the lead overcommits at the very last stretch. And then that Graveyard, just like here, coming into the end and taking it for Royal. That's a log away. That's a poison couple ticks. This should be game.
Can Royal get back to that log or a poison in time? Poison not in cycle right now, so can he get a log before this happens? The poison does get back. Who will win it first? And just by 13 HP, Royal takes it. Wow, and it's been a nail biter today. You see the bench of Immortals
Trainer
super
Luis
excited.
leaping up onto his feet, feeling all the nerves for his player, and Frost, 13 HP short. Those jerseys got to be getting a little warm.
So let's look at this finish here, and it seemed, once this poison died and you saw this graveyard getting so much done, maybe the log a half step early, the Royal Ghost not a great response, so it's down within log range, and Frost knows he has to make a move. He pushes for it, but the poison gets back in cycle quickly enough to end it before he can steal it by, wow, just low double-digit HP, and that's what CRL's all about.
Yeah, those very last-second tower trades or tower steals, these pros, they see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you got to give them a little credit. Even though they're making the mistakes, they see it. It's right there, the victory, and a slight miscalculation by Frost, or honestly, just not enough time.
Game number 3 underway. Now, the conditions here are very interesting because we have the draw first and Immortals with a game now. So here's what happens. A win for Royal is set over, match over. A loss is going to the 4th game, but a draw would also be the same as a loss for Royal and a win for Frost in this situation. So either way, if Frost can win or draw, this goes to a 4th game. So Andrew, talking about deck choices, what would you be doing here?
I mean, I guess if I'm Frost, I'm going to play a very, very defensive-heavy, conservative deck so that I can At worst case scenario, draw. And best case scenario, obviously win. And then on the other hand of it, if I'm Royal, I'm doing exactly what he's doing. I'm playing a big, heavy, strong, very offensive deck. This giant double Prince with the Electro Whiz, he wants to win. He needs to win right now because he does not want to go to that 4th game.
A true win is the only thing that works for Royal in this game. A draw or a loss sends us to game number 4. But interesting from Frost's perspective right now, not playing what you would see as a very conservative deck so far.
No, not. And so maybe he's thinking, I got to take this win. But I do feel like that's a slight misstep. And Royal, with the early Tombstone cycle coming out, he gives those heart eyes. But you got to think it's because Frost wants to get back to the Tombstone within this one push.
So Frost trying to use poison here on those support troops, but while that might work on the E-Wiz, the Prince, a very heavy troop himself.
Yeah, and very nice defense by Frost, but again, Rich, I do feel like his deck selection should have been a little more conservative.
Although maybe it's a deck he just feels super confident with,
Yeah.
so he feels he can outplay Royal. But seeing Giant Devil Prince in this situation has to feel fairly frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, it is just such an offensively powerful deck, and if you ever get caught at an elixir deficit playing against it, your opponent can just spam Princes, and then once you get caught again defending, then they can reset their giant push, and it's just kind of a nightmare deck to play against, honestly, Rich.
Now into double elixir time, so this is where that big, heavy Giant Devil Prince deck will get some advantages.
And you already see them coming through in the very first moments of this. Yeah, and that's no good, man. That is really, really bad news for Frost.
And a lot of fireball value there as well. You gotta wonder from a building perspective if maybe that Inferno Tower, knowing there was no P.E.K.K.A. and hence no responses to a tanky card like this, might have been a smart move.
Yeah, man, I mean, you really feel for Frost. He's done so much for this team, and 100 Thieves have fought so hard here at CRL. Now, they are not completely out of contention for the playoffs with this loss, but a lot of things have to fall their way, Rich. A lot of other teams have to lose out, and they have to be perfect through the next few weeks.
So there we go, Royal taking the pseudo sweep with that draw in the first game, and as you mentioned, 100 Thieves not officially eliminated, but their fate no longer entirely in their hands.
No, not at all. The only thing that they control is winning every single game, but along with that, teams that they are neck and neck with like Tribe and CLG, some of them having season wins over them already, it is just a very, very rough position to be in for 100 Thieves. So we wish them the best, but who we don't have to wish the best right now is Immortals, who are climbing up into first place after this big win today. Royal, oh yeah, the God RF, and ah crap, doing it all, and now we have this insane battle at the top.
Yeah, taking a look at where we are in just a few minutes on those standings, but I believe that puts Immortals in first.
Yeah.
Very likely it takes them that spot. Of course, at 7-3, they have the same record as Cloud9. And the other half of that story now is that Complexity now falling behind both Cloud9 and Immortals, so that number 1 or number 2 spot a little further away from the top team for most of our season.
Yes, absolutely. And hopping into this replay here, this is when it kind of all started to go south for Frost. There's this massive push coming in. The Prince makes very quick work of that Royal Ghost, and then the Fireball coming in is just really the cherry on top. He uses a Tombstone. You got to give Frost some credit for really trying everything he could. But that deck from Royal was exactly like we said, Rich. Big, heavy, and nothing but offense.
The young Romanian showing up here in 1v1 over and over and over again, moving to 7-2 in 1v1 sets. You gotta wonder what's the secret. Well, maybe he'll give us some insight when he sits down with Christy St. John.
Thanks, guys. Royal, I mean, how do you go from 0-2 to 7-3?
Yeah, it was a really good run. Hopefully we will keep it up. We won 6 games out of 7 recently, so we are really happy about that. And yeah, we are looking for playoffs.
I have to ask you, in game 2, it went down to the wire. Tell me, were you nervous? Did you know what would happen?
I mean, the matchup was pretty hard, and I thought I'm going to lose it. It was really close, but yeah, I'm happy I won, so that's what matters.
And finally, in game 3, now Frost could play for the draw, but you had to get the win. Did that affect your deck choice?
Yeah, I chose a deck that doesn't really tie any decks. You either win or lose, so.
Playing very aggressive, and it got you the win. Feels good, right?
It feels really good.
Thanks so much for talking to me. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Christy. A little slight correction here. Immortals not moving into first place, but nipping at the heels of their opponents in Cloud9. Let's look at those standings.
Yeah, right there we see they are tied. However, Cloud9 does have a win over Immortals on the season, and you see 100 Thieves at the bottom, 2-8. As I said, a lot's got to go right for them, and a lot has got to go wrong for everyone else.
Immortals and Cloud9 do still have to meet at some point later in the season, so that will be a very important match when it comes up. But we have more matches today in the North American region of CRL. Coming up next, it's going to be Tribe Gaming up against Counter Logic Gaming.
Your king needs more clashing this very moment. Luckily, we need not wait. Next up, 6th ranked Counter Logic Gaming. Feeling the pressure to win and fast. Across the bridge, 4th place, Tribe Gaming. On a hot streak behind CRL's newest star, Tommy. Gentlemen, let's drop some towers.
Counter Logic Gaming and Tribe meeting for the second time this season. Backstab X feeling the mojo coming off a massive sweep over former #1 Complexity in the rhythm. But it's the 2v2 specialist Jay Monty looking to repeat the magic from last time, sweeping CLG to get the win for his squad, wants to do it again today. We just saw Immortals strengthen their position in the top 2 spots of the standings, but now we move to a match where both squads are fighting for that #4 spot.
Yes, absolutely. We're going to start off with Tribe Gaming. We got B-Rad, Oxlet, Tommy, and the self-proclaimed dab master himself, Jay Monty, keeping it real, and their opponent, CLG, Backstab X, coming off that massive King of the Hill win. Skills, Laddie, and Gio bringing up the rest of that roster.
Backstab looked so great that last time out, proving us wrong with the graveyard play, really taking care of business, and having a lot of fun here at CRL, which was a big part of making him play to his best.
Yes.
He's standing by with a little more insight with Christy St. John.
Thanks, guys. So Backstab X coming off an amazing King of the Hill sweep and the very last match of Super Week. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. This is definitely a win that we need to make it into playoffs, so we're going at it with everything we got.
Yeah? What does a win today mean for you?
It means that we went into Hell Week, and then, we're going to turn this around.
Well, certainly you're up against kind of a new entity in Tribe. Have you figured out how to beat Tommy?
Yeah, Tommy, he kind of surprised, I think it was C9. Mm-hmm. They kind of did like a little switcheroo, like, hey, we're bringing Tommy in. And he surprised C9, but, he's already been here for that match, so we're preparing for it.
Yeah, there's definitely footage on him now. Well, thanks so much for talking to me. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Christy. These teams' preparation so important. Of course, you have not just coaches, but managers, but analysts spending hours upon hours poring over deck choices. Well, the work's been done.
Yes.
So now it's time to get fired up inside the war rooms.
Stop. No. Obviously didn't get the intense atmosphere. All right, fine. No.
Okay, boys, we're ready for today?
Whoa, you don't have a suit.
I don't have a suit! No, finally, my suit is in the dryer, so I couldn't use it. 2v2, are we ready? We got the decks?
Yeah.
We're prepared? Tommy, 1v1? Yeah. You ready? Okay, 3, 2, 1, try win. 3, 2, 1, try win!
Yeah! Alright, guys. We've worked really hard this past week. I'm pretty sure you guys are going to go out there and be really confident in this. There's nothing that they can throw at us that we're not ready for. So let's go out there and take what's ours, alright?
Let's go.
CLG on 3. 1, 2, 3.
CLG! Personally, I would be hesitant battling 2v2 with a teammate named Backstab X, but Skills told me he's not worried. Maybe they should be, though, with J Monty and B-Rad across the bridge. Time for a star-studded 2v2 throwdown.
2v2 about to get underway, and it is a rematch. A lot of the players are the same, but Backstab X and B-Rad now in the lineups.
Yeah, Backstab X coming out with skills here. He's told us before that their communication with one another in this 2v2 set is unrivaled with anyone else on their team. Even though he was so dominant in the King of the Hill, we have learned that the 2v2 set is so important. And their opponents, B-Rad and J Monty. J Monty is 6-3 overall in 2v2 sets, and B-Rad's actually never lost a set in 2v2, so this could be the most dangerous duo that you'll see from Tribe.
Fantastic play by both squads as of late. Let's look at the ban card choices they've made. And here we go once again, Tornado and Lava Hound.
Absolutely. So now everything's going to be focused on the ground game. However, with the Golem meta changing and the new cards coming in, especially cards like P.E.K.K.A, we've seen Royal Giant a few times. Someone accidentally put a Goblin Giant in their deck. Okay, maybe not an accident, but with all these things happening, there's really no telling what we're going to see in this very first set.
The rematch. Last time Tribe took the sweep. J Monty looking to make it 4 in a row. 2v2. Let's go. Tribes, J Monty, and B-Rad at the top of your screen. Skills and Backstab X for CLG at the bottom.
And immediately from Tribe, we see that double P.E.K.K.A deck once again.
They had so much success with this double P.E.K.K.A deck when they went up against 100 Thieves, who also ran double P.E.K.K.A at first, and it seemed like, again, the idea of who will blink, and it was 100 Thieves who ran headlong into this Golem Breaker.
Yeah, and that was not a good rocket from Tribe. As you can see, CLG enjoying a little goblin laugh there, a mischievous goblin laugh.
So the first minute almost down, and it looks like CLG not making the same mistake, taking a look at the playbook and recognizing that Tribe would probably be running the Golem Stopper once more.
Yeah, and it's going to be very interesting to see these two decks play against each other. So many ways of stopping those P.E.K.K.As in CLG's hand, but also, you know, both these teams running Miner, so the chip damage and the Miner tanking for those small DPS troops like these Skeletons is a big game changer throughout.
Miner getting to tower, not the exact pickup they wanted, spending a lot of elixir to deal with that card.
Yeah, definitely giving great spell value to Tribe, but CLG still with a slight damage lead. Oh, wow. Didn't quite get that Valkyrie swing in because the P.E.K.K.A didn't walk back far enough, but I am surprised that she was attracted to that Miner.
As we are getting closer to double elixir time, the slight lead for CLG on the left-hand side. But again, you're playing against a guy who plays Miner better than anyone. And the rotation, not just different spots, Andrew, but not a predictable rotation.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, he's always going to keep changing it up. You've said it before that he is the best Miner player in the world, and he likes to continue to hold that title. And he proves it here at CRL.
And this rocket, a little predictive here now. That one's a lot better than last time.
Absolutely. Cleaning up the Ice Wizard, getting the tower damage. Tribe's spell cycle alone, or their spell damage alone, I should say, has kept them really in this game. That coupled with the Miners, honestly, has been a huge nuisance to CLG.
But that left-hand tower down to 94 for Tribes Gaming, so they need to find some way. Oh my gosh, the log comes in, taking that one down, so they are now in it here. Their left-hand tower going to go down, so we will head into sudden death overtime.
And that Ice Spirit coming in, taking it down to 3. Kind of surprised that we saw a Fireball right on top of that Miner. Not sure exactly what they were trying to defend against. But, you know, getting great damage in is CLG.
So as we head into sudden death, it is CLG with the lead on the right-hand side.
And that Flying Machine is kind of in that sweet spot where it's out of range of the Princess Tower, but can still hit all of your opponent's units for defense, just getting tons of value, and CLG's had enough. The Fireball comes in.
Backstab X with a total 2v2 game record of 9 wins, 11 losses, and 1 draw.
Yeah, you saw them kind of switch it up a little bit into the season, Rich. It was Backstab and Geo a lot. They had so much success in that 2v2 challenge that was put on by Supercell at the beginning of the CRL season to kind of get more people excited on the 2v2 set and also give our pros a chance to practice. And that has changed a lot since weeks 1, 2, and 3.
Skills has since rotated in, and he is 2-2 in sets and 5-5, so even all the way around in sets and games for 2v2. But even with the up and down performances, they definitely feel like they have a good synergy.
Yep, and you see it right now, taking this very first game from Tribe. And CLG is really a surging team at the moment.
So Tribe Gaming has to go back to the drawing board, figure out what to do better next time around.
They have double ice.
They have been doing very well in 2v2 as of late, sweeping TSM, beating Cloud9, beating 100 Thieves. So they definitely know how to play here.
Yeah, and you see the spells coming out from Tribe. They definitely got way better spell value than CLG. However, CLG playing better heads-up defense and really getting a lot on that tower. Great predictive fireball, and Tribe acknowledges it. Great first game for CLG.
So we move into game number 2, trying to figure out what might be different. And this is the question we had last time, right? We see these P.E.K.K.A-heavy decks.
Yes.
Who makes the first change? Who takes the first big risk?
I mean, with the way that so many decks have been comprised here in this week of Super Week, I would honestly just avoid running a double Golem deck. I'd probably do 1-1, honestly, Rich.
So we'll see what happens. Game number 2 underway.
Okay, let's go. All right.
Your ban cards one more time, Lava Hound and Tornado inactive. So we're talking about that idea of who runs Golem. Does someone do it? And here's a card we haven't seen a lot in 2v2. It's the Hog Rider.
Yeah, and it looks like we're kind of seeing that. We saw it in week 1, like a variation of both players running a 2.6 Hog Rider deck. A really strong, quick, fast cycle, very many defensive responses. But as we saw a lot, it got kind of overwhelmed once we got into double Elixir. So we'll see today if CLG can kind of keep up with the offensive threat of Tribe.
And looking like not just one Hog Rider, Andrew.
Yeah, man, and this is pretty cool. I'm really interested to see what they're going to do here, especially once we, like I said, once we get into double Elixir, this deck is gonna start to kind of show its weaknesses, I think.
We don't talk often about cycle in 2v2 because you have so many cards on the board, but this is looking very much like, it's not exactly like, of course, seeing the Inferno Tower, but it's looking a lot very close to a double 2.6.
Yeah, and we'll see exactly, like you said, how that fast cycle fares against this deck that is really kind of a 2v2 meta deck run by Tribe.
So we were talking last time a little bit about the difference between the Tombstone and the Cannon, and talking about why certain cards make in certain places. The Tombstone as part of the 2.6, Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, it's because it's really one of your strongest ground counters. You know, there's not a lot of other cards in the deck that do tons of damage to ground. It's really all about, the Skellies and the Musketeers. So the Cannon, you kind of need that ground support.
Not to mention the Cannon also much heavier when it comes to HP.
Yeah, it's about 300 more HP than that Tombstone, which we've seen pop up a lot here at CRL. But in that 2.6 deck, you need that extra HP and that extra damage.
It being one of the only ways you can deal with a tank.
Yeah, absolutely, Rich. And that's the other thing, is it being such a quick, low-cycle card. You've seen it now. A lot of the best players in the world with Hog Rider 2.6 will cycle that early Cannon and then drop another one in the same defense to pull that tank to the King Tower. It's a really masterful interaction in the game.
Next level play, I mean, you have to have your cycle pretty much perfectly worked out, and having the cycle worked out pretty well right now is Counter Logic Gaming, running again a nearly double 2.6 Hog deck, and having a lot of success with it so far as we get into double Elixir.
Yeah, and Rich, we've discussed in the past how every pro in the world knows this deck inside and out, offensively and defensively. So honestly, everyone in this building, professional CRL players that is, can run a 2.6 deck pretty masterfully.
Yeah, but how do you deal with a double 2.6? And I gotta say that even though we have not seen a massive tanky card to deal with that, the Inferno Tower being the one big shift in here and the Poison, those two little changes seem to be really valuable.
Yeah, and now you see we're back to 0 here with both those towers getting cleaned out. However, CLG definitely put on more damage more quickly, and Tribe kind of got that strong push at the end.
So Hog Rider versus Royal Hogs here in sudden death overtime. What will come out on top? This has got to be fascinating. Not a matchup anyone expected to see really here in 2v2.
Yeah, and the one thing that the Hog Rider deck or the 2.6 deck kind of suffers with is it's a lot of the same thing over and over, So if your opponents figure out what your best option is, or if you only have one tower to attack, because in Hog situations you never want to go into the same tower as your opponents, it might be one of those situations where Tribe can kind of stop the bleeding and then start to mitigate most of the damage and then end up taking the set, because as I said, Hog Rider 2.6 kind of has one piece of material to it that's the bread and butter.
But that's a big swing, as you in 2.6, that every single swing matters. For Hog Rider, you often get just one. So there's a big swing on the left-hand tower, plus that fireball damage taking care of the Magic Archer. So right now, we are in a race. Things are very, very tight.
And all those spells coming into play, you got to imagine there's a lot of math going on between these four gentlemen on stage.
Miner gets to the back, picked up, though, by the Ice Golem and the Musketeer, although a nicely placed Poison to take care of some of that support.
And the pre-Poison, knowing they were going to use the Tombstone in that exact same spot, is CLG making a huge heads-up play and stealing that first set. That pre-Poison, Rich, is what separates the men from the boys. And you got to imagine Tribe wishes they could get that back. You got to switch up your placement.
Wow, what an unbelievable, none of us thought we would see, there's been rumors of double 2.6 being run.
Yeah.
There were rumors. And this is about as close as I expect we would get. And Andrew, walk us through these final moments.
This amazing double pickup. You called it out. It looked like the Ice Golem was going to get there, but it was actually the Musketeer. And then you see the pre-Poison coming in, offset to the right just a bit because Tribe continued to play the Tombstone in the same spot. One of the things I've learned from watching these pros stream a lot is that they always recommend you change up placements on buildings like the Tombstone and like the Mortar, things that are going to pick up those units coming across the bridge because these are the best in the world. They're going to recognize where you place it, and they just paid for doing the same thing over and over again.
So Counter Logic Gaming giving some of that mojo back the opposite direction. It was Tribe who took the sweep last time. Right. Now CLG with the 2-game sweep going into 1v1 with the advantage, and they've got a guy in 1v1 who's been a star lately in Geo.
Ha-ha! Gentlemen, start your engines. And by engines, I mean your minds, your devices, and your decks. Does Geo have what it takes to cool off the Nicaraguan ninja Tommy? Red light, yellow light, green light, go!
And go we will, and who better to take this 1v1 set than Geo for CLG, who's been so exciting against the new man, Tommy.
Yes, we got Geo coming out for CLG 2-1 in 1v1 sets, and he is ready to bring this one home for his team. Really, really trying to get into that playoff picture. And of course, the Nicaraguan ninja in Tommy popping into this league just a couple of matches ago, and he has been lights out. He has not lost a game yet in 1v1. He's had 2 draws, Rich, and 4 wins.
Let's take a look at our ban cards for this 1v1 set. And CLG taking the Tombstone off the board, Tornado for Tribe.
Yeah, Tombstone, so much utility, defending graveyards, defending miners, pulling tanks to the middle. And really the story here is how has Geo prepped for Tommy? Now CLG is saying that there's tape out there and they've been studying.
Geo's been fantastic as of late, though. Of course, one of the best matches we've seen so far, or best sets against Vulcan.
Yeah.
And then coming back, the sweep against Adrian in 1v1. So he is anybody who's ready for Tommy. Tribe's Tommy top of your screen, CLG's Geo at the bottom. And if you still haven't watched it, go back and watch that set between Geo and Vulcan. Some of you might say, well, it was a bridge spam battle, but yes, they both played it to perfection.
Yeah, it was one of the greatest stalemates we've ever seen here at CRL. And if you want to know how to play perfect offense and perfect defense with a very, very popular archetype, go check out that match.
Looking very like both players are running variations of 3 Musketeer. Tommy coming off that win against Eddie, a win, draw, win, stealing game number 3 at the very last second.
Yeah, I mean, Tommy has shown here that just because we weren't sure if we were going to see him at CRL and not having a ton of experience on the stage here, he is no one to be underestimated and is now one of the biggest threats here in North America.
So variations on a theme so far from Tommy and Geo. If Geo is in fact running that 3 Musketeers, doing a little bit different version of it, Tommy bringing the Valkyrie back.
Yeah, that Valkyrie walking in front of the 3 Musketeers is a really great cheap tank to support either side that your opponent doesn't overload. I mean, usually what you do is when you split your 3 Musketeers, you overload the side of your single Musketeer so that your opponent has to commit all their defense to the side that's actually probably going to end up doing less damage in the end.
So Geo here taking his time, and there we go, 3M in the back with 2 going to the same side as the 2 from his opponent. And that Ice Golem almost kind of appearing from nowhere there, dropping just at the last second as that fireball hits.
Perfect timing from Geo to mitigate essentially 100% of that damage.
So now we had the double elixir time. It's been a bit of a stalemate so far, but we see the Royal Hogs now getting through for Tommy. So taking the first big chunk out of a tower is the Nicaraguan.
And if there's one thing we've learned about Tommy in these last few matches is that he never, ever loses his cool, and he's also never out of the game. You said it just a second ago, that stealing of the game 3 from Eddie in the last second was a moment where he definitely was nervous, but I still feel like he played incredibly confidently.
Well, that's one thing we've heard a lot about him from other players, is how confident he is and how much of almost like not just a shock of him being coming in late in the season, but also a shock of, oh no, but it's Tommy coming in late in the season.
Yes, and he is also a notorious BMer, Rich.
Haven't seen a ton of it yet, but I bet you if he breaks away here, we will see some of that. And on the left-hand side, starting to break away, a lot of damage. That Valkyrie picking up the Royal Ghost. So now down to under 1,200 hit points, that left-hand tower of Geo.
And now you see the 3-1 split coming from Geo, really feeling the pressure, trying to make Tommy make mistakes and needing to get some damage in, but Tommy is not relenting.
Geo, the Italian, finally moving to a winning record in 1v1 with 5 wins, 3 losses, and an insane kind of crazy 2 draws. His overall head-to-head win rate right now at 10, 7, and 1 draw.
Yeah, it's weird. We didn't actually see many draws through the first few weeks of CRL. However, over the last about 3 or 4, we've seen a lot of draws, and I think that is just a testament to how much these players have grown over the last few weeks, Rich, and recognizing plays that maybe earlier in the season they would have forfeited matches or gotten too aggressive. Now recognizing that a draw is better than a loss. It seems pretty elementary, but when you see the win right there, you might make mistakes.
It's a very good point, Andrew. We've seen more of that as of late, and now that we are in sudden death overtime, Geo needs to find a solution here to play this defense correctly and not give up any more damage on that left-hand side. So far, Tommy has been getting the better of it, and you gotta wonder if maybe the Valkyrie being in that deck as one more response to Royal Hog has been helping a lot.
I think so, Rich. I really think that's been the deciding factor, because the Royal Ghost is great, but he's not quite as good as the Valkyrie is. She does so much damage, and even though her swing's been slowed down a bit, she still takes those Royal Hogs out with fair ease. And as you see here, Geo has actually done a really great job of switching up his tactics. He's switched where he's splitting the Throw Musketeers, he's switched how he's splitting the Hogs, but you know, Tommy has all of the answers.
And this is the thing we've seen Tommy do a few times now, is cycle very quickly back to a Hunter or to a similar card and start stacking them up on one side. Now, this is a guy who I think cycles, you know, you can't think you cycle faster than somebody else, but it almost seems like he does.
Yeah, and I totally understand the point that you're trying to make there, Rich. It just seems like he always has the appropriate card in hand, and that's not a mistake. The one interesting thing here is that Tommy the other day in that match, he had a draw against Eddie in his first game, and you and I kind of looked at it because he had matchup as a mistake. But in his mind, he turned around after that game and was very excited. And today, I was just going to say, you can see he is not going to be playing for a draw, and he is going to take this first game.
So there we go, game number 1, going for Tribe. Breeze, sighs of relief from his bench. And, you know, they seem relieved, but with a guy like Tommy on there, you have to feel pretty confident.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he still hasn't lost a game. You know, he's still doing work, and if that's the guy you have that is your only hope to go to King of the Hill, I would feel just a little more confident than I did 2 weeks ago.
Well, again, a guy who has played for some draws, won a mistake, obviously, and one playing for it directly, it seemed. And it seems like at this stage in the season, and not just you're talking about players being more mature, but also players, the pressure being higher, maybe being more risk-averse and trying to hold back in certain situations where they normally would go for it.
I mean, I'll be honest, in that last match we saw earlier today, I felt like 100 Thieves came out a little bit more aggressive than they should have.
Good luck from both players. You know, Geo didn't spend a lot of time in 1v1 early on, but he has had some pretty crazy battles. Of course, you mentioned that Vulcan battle earlier that he lost, but don't forget another 4-game set against C. McHugh that he won in the 4th game on a lowest tower difference of 67 HP.
Yeah, and as we all know, CMC has proven to be one of the best 1v1 players here at CRL. Cloud9 really climbing those standings. So no small feat in taking him down in a 1v1 set for Geo.
So talking about the draws of Tommy, Gio also has 2 draws in 1v1 and a draw in 2v2.
And Rich, looks like we might be seeing a little bit of the same of what we saw in 2v2. We might be seeing that Hog Rider 2.6 deck from Gio, which is actually going to fare pretty well right now against this Lava Hound deck. You've got the ability to double pull with the cannon, hopefully if Gio has that in his deck, and then also create a lot of pressure with a single Hog Rider.
You know, a lot of people do feel like a 2.6 Hog Rider deck is a challenge against Lava Loon. Missing the Lava Hound here, but of course in a position if the balloon came behind to pick it up. And yes, you're absolutely right. That double move with the cannon is the move. It is such a high difficulty, high level move.
Yes, and you watch the pros do it, you're like, oh yeah, I got it, no problem, cool. Yeah, easy, right? Cycle
I went and tried it immediately.
Yeah, cycle through 4 cards cheaply, you know, defend, create offensive pressure. It's a lot harder than it sounds, but when it's done, it is a very, very high skill way to activate the King Tower and mitigate damage on your princess.
One of the most popular decks in all of Clash Royale, but kind of a surprisingly low win rate for how popular it is, and it's because there are so many people trying it, seeing the pros murder with this deck, and they don't have the same skill level.
Yes, and here we go. There's the pressure that he's creating for Tommy so that he can't stack up too much more, but you see Gio doesn't actually have the elixir for that second cannon, maybe doing his math just a little bit wrong, not getting the double elixir soon enough, and that is not where he wants to be right now.
Yeah, the balloon getting another drop on the right-hand side, so Tommy playing very well, Gio just not, as you said, cycling back quickly enough. And look, this is a low cycle deck, obviously. I mean, the fastest cycle being 6 cards, which is absolutely bananas, but you have to have those 6 cards in order and the ability to get that cycle.
Yes, and now we're going to see Gio try to do it again with more elixir in hand, but unfortunately the damage has already been done, Rich.
And yeah, that Mega Minion there, I thought it might take out the cannon, and so it does get to the first one, but the balloon getting pushed to the left. Now with 13 seconds left, though, not enough time to get to that left-hand tower, so Tommy the hero once again. As long as he can stop this Inferno Dragon, the Ice Spirit does it. Tommy still undefeated in 1v1. Let's go to King of the Hill.
Yeah, perfect through 3, unbelievable. And the people that he's taken out along the way, Eddie, Baron, and Gio, no small feats there.
Yeah, this guy is no joke, and showing it here. And talk us through this replay, Andrew.
Yeah, so you see the cannon is actually in the right spot, but I think Gio just overcommitted, not having 3 elixir in that moment to drop another cannon. I understand you got to get through the cycle, but drop the Skellies, drop the Ice Spirit. If you must, drop the Ice Golem, but don't send in the Hog Rider and the Ice Golem. That's 6 elixir, you got nothing to pull the balloon, and you're essentially giving your opponent the free tower.
So those of you who don't know what we're talking about, you can use a cannon to cycle around and double pull a balloon all the way to the tower. It's a crazy high-level move. I remember seeing it on Clash with Ash at one point, and I went and tried it immediately and failed. So we'll try to figure out what that video is for you at some point, but go check that out to learn how to play that deck correctly in that situation. But right now, the moments pass, and now we are once again to King of the Hill. Last time, Tribe took the sweep. This time, they are forced to put 3 players on the line and try to get 3 wins against their opponents.
All right, guys. So Royal Hogs is going to be banned, all right? And then for King of the Hill, the lineup is going to be, I'm going to put skills first. It was 5, right?
Yep.
Backstab will be second. And third, we're going to have Gio. All right? So they had to counter us to win the 1 versus 1, so let's not think about that anymore, okay? This is our time. Let's go take it, all right?
Okay, guys. Let's go. We got this King of the Hill in the back. Ox, you're going first. I know you can show us to us. Monty, you're second. I don't think you're going to play because Ox gets a prize if he sweeps, so I'm sorry. Tommy, está para finalizar. You're going to finish. Let's go. So, let's do the ban will be Royal Hogs. First, Oxalate.
Let's go.
Second, J Monty.
Let's go. Yeah. Come on.
And third,
let's go, guys.
Tommy.
First player SOP. Let's go.
Let's do 3, 2, 1, try boom,
Let's
boys.
whisper it. Let's whisper it.
Let's whisper it?
Yeah.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, try win.
With 2 teams this good, this evenly matched. We're not hitchhiking anymore. We're riding. So sit back, have the lumberjack toss you a bottle of rage, and enjoy. To the hill we go.
King of the Hill it is, and the King particularly fired up today.
Someone get the rage bottle away from the King over there.
So, leading off, it's going to be Skills facing off against Oxalit back in the action.
Absolutely. Skills, Backstab X in that second position after his dominant King of the Hill performance last game. And, of course, Gio in that third spot. And Oxalit kicking things off. You can hear his coach thinks he's going to pull off the full sweep over CLG. But just in case they need, we got Jay Monty in the second slot and Tommy, the 1v1 specialist, closing it out.
Let's take a look at the ban cards, and as we'll see here, both squads opting to say no, no, no to the Royal Hogs.
I mean, we have seen them show up in like 80% of decks, it feels like, in King of the Hill or 1v1 sets. So just get rid of it, and let's see something else today.
It's a big one here, King of the Hill. Again, neither team capable of moving up in the standings right now, but still a lot riding at the middle. They could fall backward. It's 3 games for their future. Oxalit for Tribe Gaming, top of your screen. CLG Skills at the bottom. And last time at King of the Hill, these two didn't meet because it was Jay Monty going 3 up, 3 down, taking out everyone in King of the Hill with the full sweep.
I mean, that's one of the things about every single one of these players that you forget. These guys are all capable of sweeping any team on any given day. And now with CLG, you wonder if it's going to be that same Baby Dragon Graveyard deck, and there we go, that Backstab and Gio had so much success with in their last match. And Oxalit also coming out with one and the same. And smiles on the bench of Tribe Gaming here.
Backstab X coming off that beautiful sweep. You mentioned the Night Baby Dragon Graveyard deck that he ran as part of that sweep, part of the, hey, by the way, Graveyard is still viable, so let's go deck. And then, of course, his third win, or his second win of those 3 being with a Lava Loon. As a comparison, when they faced off against Jay Monty and he had that big game sweep, he did 2 of the same deck, the P.E.K.K.A. E-Wiz Ram Bridge Spam deck, and then finished off Skills with a Lava Loon.
Yeah, and you gotta wonder with all of these statistics that even you and I are keeping, what are they doing in that locker room? What are they doing in that team house to game against their opponents that ended up with them running essentially a mirror matchup?
So the Graveyard getting taken care of by the Baby Dragon behind Oxalit's photo. 20 seconds away from double elixir time, and they are separated by, it looks like, 2 HP.
Yes, exactly. 2 HP, and we got the same decks. A couple skeleton hits there, maybe 1, 2 hits coming in for that tower to give a slight advantage to Oxalit. However, Skills has his own graveyard, I'm sure.
So it'll be a question of how do they choose to defend and who does it more effectively. But if they do play perfect defense, we've talked before about the random number generator. In this case, the Graveyard being a perfect example, Andrew.
Yes, it absolutely is. It's a blank open space where skeletons pop up without any rhyme or reason. That's why we keep saying this random number generator thing, is because there's no way to defend against it perfectly in the exact same order every single time, other than with something like a poison.
It's the only card that really has that in spades.
Yes.
Where every other card you can kind of predict the interactions. Here you might perfectly defend a poison, but one skeleton pops up right next to the tower.
Yeah, exactly. And really the only thing that you can control is the placement of the graveyard, and you'll see that most all pros offset it towards the side of the screen and faring away from the center towards the king tower.
Yeah, if you're a Graveyard player, every once in a while you play a little too close to the king tower and you're just fingers crossed, hoping that the numbers are kind and don't pop a skeleton up and activate it against you.
Absolutely, and they just have so much more ground to cover on either side. So if it's offset and they pop up on the left side, for instance, with Skills in this graveyard, they're much closer to the tower than those on the right.
So we are now in sudden death overtime. Remember, it is King of the Hill, so we might be hitting a lowest tower situation if no one can really break through and get a big one off.
I was just going to say that, Rich. I mean, in this situation, there is no draw, and that graveyard coming in from Oxalit earlier, getting a few hits in there, could be the difference maker and everything in this first game of King of the Hill. And I spoke too soon, because now he's within 200 damage of poison will even him up.
So it also becomes a question, Andrew, of how do you get to allocate your poison versus alternating the defense versus the offense? Do you have other cards in cycle to clean up all the skeletons coming through, and can you get your poison on your opponent's tower?
Yeah, it's such an interesting position to be in, right? Because you don't want to waste your poisons because you need them for the graveyard defense, and you know if any more damage gets on your tower, you're essentially going to lose this draw of a game. Now, I really doubt that one of these guys is going to make a big enough mistake for them to actually lose an entire tower. However, that can happen, and Graveyard is the card that does it best.
And, you know, talking about those numbers, here we are, the skeletons in this particular graveyard on the bottom, generating in the spots where that knight and those skeletons can pick them up fairly easily, so not a lot of damage from that one.
And now here, this is a great graveyard for skills, and these guys are now separated by 2 HP once again.
A minute 30 remaining in our sudden death overtime. Both players trying to put their will on the other and find those all-important hit points, and now it is Oxlet getting both Poison and Graveyard on the tower, so a very nice sequence for the Tribe Gaming representative.
Yeah, we've got about 70 seconds left for both of these guys to figure out how to edge out their opponents and just take the damage lead. I don't think either of them are expecting to take a tower at this point.
A pair of tornadoes in tandem lining everybody up. And there the Ice Wiz coming down, and the Baby Dragon, another one, and so this is a nice spot for Oxlet.
Wow, and that one Baby Dragon shot is huge for Oxlet because that's a couple skeleton hits that he doesn't have to have anymore.
And he still has a skeleton of the graveyard coming down because there's so many troops there available to potentially tank for it.
And so at 613 HP, 546, Skills is at a pretty big damage deficit here with only 25 seconds left.
And now Oxlet feeling comfortable enough to throw Poison on there as well, so must believe he has the cards he needs to stop this graveyard push from getting really bad. And there he goes, you see the Knight and the Skeletons, but a Tornado meant to draw them away does not do the job.
Wow, just barely getting away with it is Oxlet. That was so close to Skills getting the NATO, all those units on tower, and actually maybe taking it. But it is Oxlet with the mirror matchup essentially eliminating Skills for CLG, and now it's Backstab X's turn to step up to the plate and see if he can recreate the magic that he had in his last match.
So here we go, Andrew. Take a look at this action for us.
Yeah, just a couple small Skelly hits in there. The Poison's in. The Knight somehow cleans up enough, but those 2 hits from the Skeleton really was a huge difference maker. Every single hit counted.
Well, 2 other big moments. We saw that Poison getting offensively that we did was going to be next in that replay.
Right.
And you caught that Baby Dragon getting across.
Yeah, that one hit, that couple hundred damage is so much, especially when you know you're playing for the lowest tower.
So again, lowest tower, whichever player has the lowest single health tower at the end of our overtime, they take the loss and take the long walk down the ramp. Up next, Backstab X. Oxlet, who did not play last time out, partially because they didn't make it to King of the Hill, making the most of his opportunity here so far.
Yeah, and you got to imagine you probably want to get in the ring, but I bet it is nice to take a match off and recollect your thoughts, maybe re-strategize what you want to bring to the table the next time you're at the stands.
And Oxlet throwing Miner out.
So maybe we'll see that Lava Hound deck coupled with the Miner, maybe.
A reminder, only one ban card this entire King of the Hill set, the Royal Hogs. You know, Andrew, we often talk about spell cycle at the end of a match, but we don't often talk about it at the beginning of the match. And you see a fireball like that gets some damage on that Electro Wizard and does some tower damage, and that could come back to be very important later in the game.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen these situations where people have picked decks with more spells or higher damage dealing spells in them when they're in the King of the Hill situation, because the moment that you realize you're not going to be able to outright take a tower and you start that spell cycle, you'll end up on top because you recognize it sooner.
Yeah, we did have that triple spell situation that ended up in a nice last-second win.
And it was was just that one extra spell that was the difference maker, right?
Yeah, it was a poison log for both with a zap as the extra, so just a little bit. But also, not only that, talk about getting those early fireballs, not just taking care of troops, but taking care of troop and tower on the early end to set you up for later.
Yeah, and it's just like nice elixir trades there. And we got the P.E.K.K.A coming in here, so one in the sky, one on the ground. How is Backstab going to deal with the P.E.K.K.A? He's got the Tombstone and the guards. Let's see what he can do.
So Backstab did have some success with what I'm assuming is Lava Loon this time. He had some success with it last time, taking the victory as part of that big complexity sweep.
Yeah, one of the 2 decks that he ran in 3 separate games. And yeah, he had a lot of success with it, as he is right now as well.
That's a ton of damage. The pups chewing up that tower. So now down to under 400 hit. Wow, under 400 hit points.
And you got to think Oxalate maybe just ate a bit more damage than he planned on in that situation. Now the balloon coming in, not gonna make it to the tower, but the death damage will get there. And those guards placed by Backstab on the opposite lane, just a brutal kite for Oxalate to have to deal with.
But Royal Ghost Miner on this left-hand tower making the best they can of a bad situation, 14 seconds down with the poison and the log coming in. So Oxalate doing his best to try to tie this thing up, but he's not going to have the time to make it work unless that Royal Ghost, no, he does not make it. The Miner takes one swing. Can he get a second? It's not going to happen. And that is it. Backstab X taking out Oxalate now 4 wins in a row here in King of the Hill.
I mean, we've seen it before, Rich. It just takes that one to get the momentum rolling, the ball rolling, and now Backstab is vibing here in CRL. You see this great fireball come in, and the Lava Hound pop here, we're both kind of surprised at how much damage Oxalate opts to take. You see he's got 7 elixir, but he probably also knows whatever he drops isn't going to create much counter push potential.
Really tough situation to be in, and though we did come down to just a few HP, so now you're talking about, we talked about those fireballs early on, getting on tower and on troop damage as well, so, and that's the situation, a few HP the difference so many times here at CRL, so now they are all tied up, 1 down each, but coming up next, the man who swept all of CLG last time, Tribes J Monty.
You got to imagine that CLG is really wanting revenge on J Monty here. It is not often that one man takes down your whole team, something that Backstab is very familiar with.
Just doing it very, very well against the #1 or former #1 team in the entire region. Last time these two met in King of the Hill, J Monty ran that P.E.K.K.A Ewiz Battle Ram Bridge Spam deck, and it was a that Princess Rascal's log bait deck from Backstab.
Yeah, and I'm so curious to see what Backstab has to punish that pump, and as you can see, he doesn't have anything, which is why he's trying to go hard on the offense, getting the poison on top of it as well. But actually, you know what? That actually ended up being a pretty great trade for Backstab. He got some damage there, he mitigated the pump elixir, and he's actually only at a small deficit.
So this makes some difficult choices for J Monty as to where to place that pump now as well, Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, you always want to place it on the tower that your opponent is not focusing on. However, with Backstab putting out that poison, now, you know, J Monty's got the freedom to drop his 3 Musketeers, but he's opting to pump up, so now Backstab has to choose, well, do I save my poison for the 3 Musketeers, or do I take out the pump? He will probably opt to take out the Musketeers.
Using the log on the pump, trading 2 elixir for taking 2 elixirs off of that pump's buyback.
And a great, great NATO. Never mind, Backstab had it all figured out. He throws out the thanks. J Monty gives him the thumbs up, but you know J Monty is very annoyed by that interaction.
Yeah, that's a tough one. And kudos to Backstab here, kind of putting himself out there, going back to the deck that everyone just saw him run and win with twice in his last outing.
Yeah, and we all know how it feels when you're playing against someone who's got a pump and you can't punish it immediately and you feel yourself slowly slipping into that elixir disadvantage. Backstab doing a great job maintaining a level head, recognizing what he needed to do to mitigate that elixir deficit, and then in turn create a very frustrating defense.
And that tornado just continuing to be the bane of those 3 Musketeers, but they might find a way through here potentially, the log trying to clean them up, but we'll get a couple shots on the right-hand side.
And you know, that tornado pull of the 3 Musketeers to one side seems like such a simple interaction, but they move very quickly, and you got to get that tornado down right away. And Backstab breaking through for the first time, taking that tower down to 1365.
There's a ton of damage on that left-hand side, Andrew, and this is another time when you see some more damage getting through than you think would happen. And you know, you got to wonder about the minion horde here in a competitive play deck. Of course, I would never be the one to question J Monty's deck choices. There's a reason, probably because the pump gives him more value for that, but not a card you often see at this level of play.
Yeah, I mean, well, because you've got so many bait aspects here, right? You've got the pump that you want to either poison or fireball, you got the minion horde that you want to poison or fireball, and you have the 3 musketeers that you want to poison or fireball.
That makes a lot of sense, Andrew.
So when you got that, all those things, you take out one fireball or poison, and all of a sudden your minion horde plus miner becomes a devastating assault.
So playing that minion horde for a spell bait aspect here.
Exactly, but at 5 elixir and with Backstab having so many responses, he doesn't actually need to poison it out. His baby dragon is a great response, so is his ice wizard. Coupled with the tornado, he's actually not forced to have to play that or succumb to that bait aspect.
So we are now in sudden death overtime, and you know, so far it's been Backstab in control, but one foul move could change the whole thing. And J Monty's saying, hey, if you're in a tornado, I'm not going to give you the tornado value. I'll just put them all on the same side and see what I can do.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point. I mean, we've seen some really heads-up plays before from, I believe it was Adrian Piedra, when he recognized that his opponent only had poison in cycle, taking 8 seconds for that full duration and effect of the poison to come in. Dropping the 3 musketeers in one spot isn't as brutal as if your opponent's running a fireball.
So now it looks like Backstab recognizing the minion horde as the primary defense for those graveyard pushes, choosing to put poison on the bait there.
Yeah, and you know, it worked out fine because he doesn't even need to poison the 3 musketeers anymore because they're in the same lane. The great tombstone there coming in, a good log to clean it up, and now, yep, the baby dragon. That bandit's going to get a dash.
That dash is huge, and if those musketeers could release, this might be the end right here. J Monty, a lot of damage coming down the left-hand side. It's the miner getting on tower. I'm so excited, I'm stumbling over my words.
Yeah, this is going to be a game for J Monty. It appears Backstab needs to figure out a way to take that left tower. Wow! And just played so well. He gives him the thanks right back from the early one on. Backstab throwing out the BMs because he felt that he was in control that entire game. However, that is where the 3M deck succeeds, is you get that elixir advantage, you get a huge push coming down the lane, your opponent defends for a while, but you do not have to relent, and there is the thanks from Backstab. J Monty gives him the thumbs up. He's like, hey man, you might have gotten me right now, but let me see what we're going to do in about 2 minutes.
That play we just saw, Andrew, on the replay might have been one of the bigger elixir trades we've seen this entire time, taking out a pump, tower, and 3 musketeers, all with a tornado and poison.
Absolutely, which is why you saw that thanks from Backstab. He felt like he had really taken command of the game, and it honestly kind of felt like he did from here, but J Monty maintaining his cool, recognizing that his deck succeeds later on in the game, just calm down, get an elixir advantage, and then go hard in the paint, and he did it. Backstab X getting eliminated. Gio, it's all up to you, buddy.
J Monty, wow, looking like he might be the hero again. So all he has in front of him, though, is Gio, a guy who will take you all the way to the very last hit point on your tower. This is going to be a big one.
Yeah, and I can imagine that the last thing CLG wants is to give J Monty the satisfaction of 2 King of the Hill sweeps.
And this is it, the last man standing for Counter Logic Gaming. Gio and J Monty meeting once again, and of course, it was J Monty running that same P.E.K.K.A. Ewiz Ram bridge spam deck when they first met.
Yep, and if Gio does take down J Monty, he does have the Nicaraguan Ninja in Tommy to take out next.
Gio running the Giant Miner Poison, or Goizen, last time out, coming out, of course, with the L in that situation.
And it looks like he's going to be doing one and the same. You see the Hunter and the Miner, you got to assume there's going to be a Giant and a Poison.
Gio taking his time here in the early moments. Recognizing the Prince there, so not sending the Ram down that pumped up lane.
Yep, exactly.
1 minute down, both players being very cautious so far, recognizing the stakes at hand.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, with that Inferno Dragon crossing over the river into enemy territory, you got to imagine J-Monty was going to want a Giant up. Geo, recognizing that his Inferno was out of cycle, knew that he had a Lumberjack. Another excellent response to any tank.
So Lumberjack and Inferno Tower, so it feels like Geo will pretty much always have a response to that Giant as long as he makes no serious mistakes or overcommittals.
Yeah, and 3 quick hacks from that Lumberjack, and J-Monty probably thought he was going to get away with 2. A little bit more damage than he would have liked to take.
And again, gotta love the patience of Geo here. So many players would look at that rage drop and just try to capitalize every single time. So far, he's being patient, not overcommitting, knowing there's a lot of game left to be played.
Yeah, and that takes a lot to calm yourself down and keep your wits about you in King of the Hill, especially after what happened in that 1v1 set.
So the Prince eating that one up, not letting the Battle Ram get on tower. And with the Hunter taking out that Inferno Dragon, the Giant's going to be making a pretty big beeline, but a second Inferno Dragon does come out for Geo.
And that, I was going to say, that Miner is going to get to the tower. You can ignore it, but it actually ends up going after the Ice Golem. So kind of 3 Elixir down the drain for J-Monty, but he did need to stop that Magic Archer. And just a little bit off on his math is Geo, dropping that Magic Archer just a hair too far to the right.
So the Prince charging on the right-hand side does get kited over by the Ice Golem. Things are so tense in this room right now, you could hear a pin drop.
Wow, and this is another great push from J-Monty, really kind of commanding this game, even though he's ahead by 1,000 damage, which is a lot. But his patient play has really been, like you said, you've said it the whole time, and this is a big push coming in here. That Hunter, though, making very, very quick work of the Battle Ram. Those guards, such a cheap defensive ground response, and now it really appears that Geo's going to need a miracle to come out with this one.
And it looked like that Ram was going to take advantage of that Rage Potion and get all the way to the tower, but the Hunter at point blank Rage stops it. So now at 497 on the left-hand tower, Geo in dire straits.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you just defend, 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 Miner, and then get to the point where you can Fireball zap him out. Ooh, the Hunter turning around, not getting on the Magic Archer right away, and a great zap to get him out of the picture, and the Hunter is still alive. That was turning a mountain into a molehill into a mountain by Geo. That was a really impressive play.
Yeah, a ton of damage, but now at 185 in Fireball range, that is going to be it. Wow. J-Monty finally showing some of that emotion. You know, after the first win, he was so calm, like, okay, I got that one. Oh my gosh, let's stay focused. This time he goes, let's go. The fist pump took the big win, and J-Monty now doing it twice. 5-0 in King of the Hill against Counter Logic Gaming.
I mean, he has proven that he is CLG's kryptonite, and you see right here, Geo almost coming back in the game. A really great Magic Archer, but just too little, too late. J-Monty gets that Miner on the tower. The Royal Ghost does not pick it up. He cannot see him. Poison comes in, Fireball comes in, game over, and J-Monty, despite not letting Tommy play, has brought the W home for Tribe.
Game, set, and match. Don't forget, of course, the excellent first win by Oxlet, setting that thing up for his team, coming off the bench, playing very well. And that's a big win for Tribe Gaming, because now if we get close to the season and they're talking about that number 4 spot, CLG starts pushing forward. Tribe, with both matches won, has the tiebreaker over CLG.
Yeah, and that's the first tier of tiebreakers, Rich, is what your guys' record is on the season against each other. And with the standings being as close as they are, that is not a loss that CLG wanted.
Not one at all, and we'll get into the standings in a couple of moments, but first, the guy who has done it not once, not twice, not thrice, not 4 times, but 5 times in a row, taking out CLG's players in King of the Hill. Christy St. John is ready to sit down and chat with J-Monty.
Thanks, guys. J-Monty, I mean, taking the win for Tribe against CLG in King of the Hill again. How's it feel?
It feels really good, I think, especially after losing our 2v2. Me and B-Rad were just a little bit disappointed in general. You know, we got outplayed, but I was happy that I got the opportunity for vengeance, and just went to the King of the Hill super confident and played my best. Yeah.
Is that how you were able to kind of turn that emotion around? You just felt like...
Yeah, I think a lot of it was motivation, just to come back. I knew this was a huge game for us, really decide where we would be in the standings and where our opponents would be. So just that motivation for winning, knowing how important it was, just helped me play my best.
I have to ask about one specific play. Those 3 muskies, you changed it up. You were splitting them, and then you noticed you got nadoed every time. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so I was very nervous to start the game. I had one really bad play that set me behind where I played 3 musketeers in the back, and then Backstab made a really good play. He played a tornado, and he got the poison on the 3 muskies in the pump. I did not know that he had poison in cycles, so that's why I made the play. But then later on, I realized that he couldn't make a positive trade with the 3 muskies because he always had to nado and poison them. So I was just playing them up really high. He was hesitant to poison them at the end, and then so once I saw that happening, I just kind of picked up a pattern in his gameplay. Got one push in where like a bandit squeaked through onto a knight, which tanked for the muskies, and it kind of just all went together.
Nice, some quick math, and it got you the match. Congrats, man. Thanks for talking to me, and back to you guys.
Thanks, Christy. A big-time win for Jay Monty, especially as we move into the last few games of the season. While there's no movement on the standings, Andrew, there's some very big news.
Yeah, I mean, we look at the standings here, and things in North America are just like uncomfortably close, honestly. We got Cloud9 and Immortals both at 7-3, Tribe and Complexity both at 6-4, and now CLG is battling for Team Solo Mid to get into that top 4, Rich.
100 Thieves now, I'm getting word, potentially eliminated from the playoffs,
yes,
given all the different ways things could work out. So with that win, Tribe Gaming taking one team out of the hunt. Now also Tribe does have a 1 loss to Complexity and 1 loss to TSM.
Right.
Both of those rematches in front of them, so all important for those potential tiebreaker situations. And it's all about this right here, the playoff picture right now in 4th, needing 1, 2, 3 wins to go to the World Finals.
Yeah, in the World Finals, we are very, very excited to announce next week. We'll tell you exactly where it is, when it is, and how you guys can join us there.
And if you don't want to miss all that information, make sure you hit subscribe on the Clash Royale Esports YouTube page. Don't forget to ring that bell, as Andrew's doing right now for all your notifications. Go to esports.clashroyale.com to follow along the standings and team information. And, of course, the Esports tab in your Clash Royale app as you're playing, taking a break. Look over at some CRL and other competitive action. We will be back next Tuesday. Have to take a break from us for a couple of days here.
Sleep.
Yeah, me too. We'll be back Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time with more North American action. For Andrew Guy, I'm Rich Slayton. We will see you next week back in the arena.
Every trip to the arena feels too short. I mean, time really flies. When the last tower drops, when the final handshakes commence, it's always so bittersweet. The sweet drama that has unfolded, and the bitter beginning of the wait for more. Luckily for us all, the stampede of hog riders and battle rams is far from over. We have weeks of CRL action ahead on the road to the World Finals. Whatever you do, subscribe to the Clash Royale Esports channel. And remember, we are all born from Elixir, and to Elixir we shall one day return. Well, that's why my backyard's chock full of pumps. I don't want to go into it. The prince is never going to get this crown.